Brent and I are discussing this in Tallahassee, Miami, Orlando, and other places, and hopefully before the dust settles, they will have sorted it out so we can all live with it. But you know, there's something else I want to talk to you about, and it has to do with the incidence of violence in our society and one of the causes of it. Before I get into that, I'm going to be talking about the Johnny Mac Steve Calhoun case. Now, I understand that he's got a mom that loves him. He certainly has a daddy that loves him. You know, people just making their way through life, and this is a tragedy for them to lose a son to the prison system. It's also a tragedy to the Brown family, having lost a wonderful daughter like Mia. And you have to come to the question, though, how did this horrible crime come about? Today, I wouldn't mind if you did that, because it doesn't. I'm sorry, my daddy died and just like this nose and this sexy. But you know, one of the things about those people who smoke marijuana, by and large, we don't have violent crimes that we attribute to their use of marijuana. They're kind of cool, they're choked out. I have an artist that I employ to do some things for me. And he's a creative person, he's very artistic. But getting him to do something on time just doesn't work. Because he has an affinity for weed. And you know, if he's up that day, he's cooking, if he's not, he's not. And but he never puts anybody in trouble. And so, you know, when we start talking about the other drugs, cocaine, the crack cocaine, methamphetamines, designer drugs, prescription drugs. Now we're talking about a whole new breed of cat that is of great concern to me as a prosecutor, Brandon as a prosecutor, and it should be of great concern to you. And you have a case example of what can happen when people are using these drugs. You know, we all understand about crack cocaine and the things that brought with us. We know about the powdered cocaine. But methamphetamines, they do a lot of things to people. First of all, they make you ugly. You've seen the pictures of a pretty young girl who it shows just the progression that the drug has on their bodies. Why anybody would want to do that to themselves is beyond me. But one of the things that we also learned is that those people who are using methamphetamines have the capability to create and to commit violent, horrible crimes. And the Brown case is an example. Now, you're all probably familiar with the case. Mia worked a convenience store, I'll call it, in Hess, Florida. She had a friend, Brittany. Brittany had a boyfriend named Johnny Mac Calhoun. Johnny Mac, from all accounts, was an easygoing person back when he was in high school. But as we learned during the investigation, I want to point out, Brandon and Michael Rayleigh did a great job pulling a very complex case together. And you know, it showed in the way the trial went. But what we learned is that Johnny Mac would go up to a place in Alabama, out in the woods where he had a campsite, and he would basically cook up methamphetamines. Nobody would see him up there. Probably not, never get caught up there, so back in the woods. And then he'd come back to where he was living in a FEMA trailer up there in Esto. And as we saw when the trailer was searched, it was obvious that he would sit in his mobile home and he would cook the methamphetamines on a spoon, and he would inject methamphetamines. And while he was doing methamphetamines, he was obviously watching pornography. He had a little home theater there in his trailer. And when I was in Sunday school, we used to sing a song about, be careful of eyes, what you see. You don't know what I'm talking about? Because what you see corrupts your mind, and once your mind is corrupted, then it will corrupt your hands, because you can go ahead and do it. And that's what happened with Johnny Mac. Besides taking the methamphetamines, he started watching these things, and I can only imagine it kind of went like this. Mia and his girlfriend Brittany were friends. They knew each other. because getting close to Christmas time. Johnny Mac didn't have a car. Brittany didn't have a car. She had to borrow Daddy's truck whenever she went any place, if she could borrow Daddy's truck. And Johnny Mac was supposed to go over to Brittany's house, and they were going to go Christmas shopping and do those Christmas things for Brittany's child. And so Mia, being the loving person that she was, the kind person she was, realized that Johnny Mac couldn't get to his girlfriend's house and he had a ride. So she volunteered. She says, if you ever need to ride to your place, I'll be happy to give a ride. I work just down the street from where he works, and I'll give him a ride to your house. Well, Johnny Mac is sitting up there in the trailer doing what he was doing and looking at what he was looking, and obviously he got an idea that maybe he would like to be with me around. And so he went down and he asked me around to give him a ride that night. And being a nice person, she said, well, when I get off from work, I'll come pick you up. She'd never been to his house. And in fact, she got lost trying to find his house that night. But she went to his house sometime after 9 o'clock for the purpose of giving him a ride that he asked for. And of course, we know the rest of the story. He kept her in that trailer, bound up. Her blood was found all over that trailer in little pieces and parts. His blood was found in the trailer, on the bed. And we knew that they were there at least until 4 o'clock in the morning. And that was one of those interesting things. How do we know they were there until 4 o'clock in the morning? Everywhere Mia went, she took this little camera with her. She loved that camera. She took pictures of her family and her friends and whatever they were doing. And when they searched the trailer, they didn't find the camera, but they found a little tiny card, a tiny stick in the computer to see what the pictures looked like. And her sister was given this little card at one point, and she was looking at it, and it had pictures like of the day that she gave birth to her last child, then being in the hospital together. And then there's a picture that looks like this ceiling. And it was the ceiling of the trailer. While she was on that bed, she tried to take a picture of her assailant. We never found the camera. Obviously what happened was he saw the camera, he slapped it out of her hands, the card fell out, and it was there for the investigators to find. At least that's my take on it. And during the course of the trial, we were able to show the jurors pictures of the ceiling that matched the very picture that she took. And well, it was 4 o'clock in the morning. You know how those cameras will tell you what time it is? We were able to make the adjustments for the time and replace her in the trailer at 4 o'clock in the morning. So we know that she was on that couch from probably 9:30 in the evening till 4 o'clock in the morning. And then she was taken to Alabama just before dawn. And we know that by noon that day she had died a horrible death. And it's one of those things that, how can a human being do that to someone else? Burn them alive. Well, the answer to that is your methamphetamines. If you go through the cases that we see throughout the state of Florida as they're reported, you will find that a lot of these very violent crimes, or nonsensical crimes, the cruel crimes, are all, a factor is usually methamphetamines. If it's not methamphetamines, then we frequently have the designer drugs. This is the bath salts you've read about. And the bath salts, not only do they cause people to have LSD type hallucinations, they cause them to have kind of superhuman strength. The demonstration of that was when a Bay County Sheriff's deputy had to go to the airport to subdue a passenger who had overdosed on bath salts. And the EMTs could not get that passenger on in a gurney to take him to the hospital. And so the deputy had to strong arm into the cage of his car. And the deputy turned his dash cam right on to keep an eye on the subject. And there was a radar machine in the back of the sheriff's car. He was handcuffed, so he used his teeth and he ripped the radar machine right from where it was mounted. And he was there slinging it back and forth like your dog would do with a sock. And just superhuman strength that it takes 2 or 3 deputies to get a person down. And so these are the scary things that are happening in our community. One of the nice things about, I should say nice things, one of the crazy things about these bath salts, if you go to Walmart, you can buy a box of bath salts like this for about $6.29. if you go to one of these head shops in Panama City Beach, they want to sell you bath salts in a little tiny packet like this for $40. And then they will tell you, well, we didn't know it was illegal. That's a sporty price for something illegal. But you know, when we talk about, when people start talking about the legalization of drugs and they start talking about decriminalizing drugs, you have to recognize that society pays a price for the use of drugs in our community. If we're not dealing with the violent drugs and the results of those violent drugs, then we're dealing with the non-productivity of the marijuana smokers. I can't imagine, I just can't imagine how someone who's going to high school